Hey, what's up? I'm Leonard, and I'm going to share the story about how I got my first job in the film industry. So, at the time, I was going to film school in Virginia Beach, and back home in Richmond, my mom was working at a hotel. One day, she's working. She usually doesn't work the front desk. She kind of works in the back offices, but every once in a while, she'll come out to the front desk to help out if they need an extra hand or something. And some, young lady was checking in, and my mom just started chatting with her as they were doing the check-in process. And she was like, "Oh, what are you in town for?" And she said, "Oh, I'm actually in town for a TV show. We're producing a new TV show and we're shooting an episode here in Richmond." And my mom was like, "Really? Well, my son is in film school right now. Do you happen to be hiring anyone for your show?" And she was like, "Yes, actually, we need a couple local production assistants." So my mom called me like right away and told me the story, and she sent me this lady's info. And so I emailed her, and she ended up hiring me. And they were shooting like one of those new makeover shows, and they'd been to a few different like states, I think, at the time, and they were traveling around shooting episodes for this new show. And they happened to be shooting one in my hometown, and so they hired me, and I ended up working on the show for, I think we shot for like 2 or 3 days, because there was like these, there were three main girls who were like the leads of the show, and they would like come and like do a little makeover with like a woman, and like give her a new wardrobe and like makeup and all the makeover, typical makeover stuff. During the shoot, it was a smaller budget shoot, and I don't think it was a union shoot or anything, so I was just working as a PA, but I was helping like the grip and lighting crew a little bit. So I would help them like unload lights and set them up on the stands for them. And then, once we finished that location, load it back up. I was helping the camera team like switch batteries and media sometimes, anything I could do. And then, sometimes I would go on runs to the store to get, bottled water for the set, or, Gatorades or whatever. If we were getting low, they'd send me out to make a run for something. So most of the crew wasn't from Virginia because they were all traveling around to these different states and cities to shoot these episodes. But, they hired some local PAs like me and a couple other people. And they also had a local like first AD and like a local producer, because, when you do these travel jobs, especially in like different states or different countries or something, a lot of times what they'll do is they'll hire a local producer that knows like local crew, local vendors, the locations and things like that. And so I got to meet the local people in the film industry that lived around in the area. And so I got to meet a couple producers in the area, the first AD in the area. And so, we shot for a few days. I made sure like that I was working really hard. I was doing anything they asked, I would do it, make sure I did it well. And if I had questions, I would ask whenever, so this is the first time I've ever been on a set. And of course I, made some mistakes, but, it was nothing major. But after we wrapped, because I met those local people, I, got their info from the call sheet, and, of course they liked me. I did a good job. They liked me. And so they ended up, after that, hiring me as a PA on other jobs in town. So like a lot of commercials would come in town. They bring in a lot of their own crew, but they still would need local PAs and stuff like that. So I would get a call from some producer that I met, or from the first AD that I met, say, "Hey, we've got a commercial coming up, are you available?" And I'd say yes. And, luckily I lived in Virginia Beach, but also my mom lived up in Richmond. So, whether it was in the Virginia Beach area or if it was up in Richmond or wherever it was, I had a place to stay. And so I would just, PA on these commercials while I was still in film school. And that's how I was able to kind of get my foot into the industry. And, and that's how I was able to later, shortly before I came out to LA, that winter, I was recommended to be a production assistant on the movie Lincoln, because Spielberg, they were looking at a few different cities, and Richmond was one of the cities that they were considering, because they would actually be able to use the actual historical locations. And the state and the city were really cool, and to make them choose Richmond as their shooting location for the movie, they gave them all the historical locations for free. So if it was like government property, like historical locations, they didn't have to pay for them. And so like there was like Petersburg, there was like the Capitol building, they didn't have to pay for that or anything, like where they're actually like in the like Senate in the Capitol building in downtown Richmond. They had that, all that for free, and some buildings around there for free. And so that was the big incentive. So because I worked on that reality makeover show, that my mom randomly met this lady as she was checking into a hotel, I was able to meet local people, and then did a good job, and then did a good enough job that they hired me for more commercials, and then even recommended me for a big Spielberg movie to be a production assistant. So you never know where you can get a job from. You never know who you're going to meet, and you never know who's going to give you your next job or your first job. So, just kind of like, put yourself out there a little bit, and you never know where you're going to get your first job or your next job from. And that's the thing. Once you get that first job and you do a good job while you're on set and you make a good impression, people will remember that. They'll remember that you were hardworking, that you were eager, and that you were willing to learn. And they will notice that. Trust me, people notice. And if you do that, they'll call you again, and then they'll keep calling you. And then over time, you can kind of start to work your way up. And then you can kind of figure out what department you like the most and what kind of fits your personality and your creativity. And you can kind of start, focusing in on what you want to do on set. And the cool thing about being a PA is that you can kind of get different departments to like kind of like steal you to help them. And so like for a good example of this was on Lincoln. I was trying really hard to get in with the camera team, but they had already had a camera PA that they hired. And so I couldn't really get in with them, but I just wanted to do some other stuff on the set, because a lot of times I was just a lockup PA, meaning I would just go stand by a door or a hallway or up on a road somewhere and just stop people from walking into the shot or like making noises and stuff. So it was really boring. So I kind of wanted to like help a specific department, and I actually kind of got into helping the wardrobe department. And it was really cool because, on some of the scenes we were shooting, there were literally hundreds of background. So every morning we had to dress all these people in their soldier costumes, and there were just racks and racks and racks. And so like, and then there were these big boxes full of different like pouches and canteens and things. So I actually ended up helping the wardrobe department out a lot and helping them dress the soldiers. And so we would make sure before anyone could go out and then go to the set, we would have to look at them and make sure, okay, you've got this, this, and this. Okay, you're good to go. You can go to set. Oh, wait, you're missing this. Here, grab one of those, take that. Okay, now you're good to go. Now go to set. So that was kind of cool. I got to kind of help make sure that all the background was in their correct wardrobe. And then also there was this one moment where I was on set and I was hanging out with the wardrobe people, and one of the soldiers, there was something wrong with their costume. And I noticed, and they came up, and I was like, oh, this is not quite right. You have to do this and this. And the other wardrobe people were saying there, watching, they were letting me do this. And they were like, oh, you could be a wardrobe person, like you're doing it right now. And so like, you kind of like, they like the help because it makes it a little bit easier for them, especially on a big movie like that, where there's literally hundreds of background people that they have to dress and make sure everything's right. They'll take any bit of help that they can get. And, and even at the end of the day, I would make sure that everything was organized where it was supposed to be, get the time cards from all the background actors and things like that. And so, so that's kind of the cool thing about being a PA, is that when you get on a job, try to like, cozy up with the department that you are interested in. And that way you can kind of learn more about that department, and maybe you decide, oh, you don't like this particular department, but you get to see what it's about, and then you can go over and maybe on another job be like, talk to the camera department or the grip department or the lighting team, or whoever, or makeup and hair, or whatever it is, stunts. Maybe they're doing like special effects makeup, and you're really into that, and you want to like get in on that and see what it's like and how they do it. you can kind of, sometimes you'll get pulled away from the first AD to go do something, or you may have to go do a run or whatever. But whenever you have the chance, kind of see if you can get in good with a particular department to help them out on a job, so you can learn more about that department and if you like it. Yeah, so I mean that's how I originally got my very first job in the film industry, was from my mom meeting this random lady. So you never know how you're going to get your foot in, and if you do a really good job and you work hard, people will notice and they'll keep hiring you, and that's how you're going to break into the film industry. So that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button for me, and I'll see you in the next one. Going off walkie.